With me is Julian Sidana, a teenager who has made a movie, or rather a short film, maybe you can call it a docudrama. So few teenagers try to strike out on their own in India, and her story is very special. In China, we see teenagers taking center stage in politics, activism, writing books, and I think India must also do the same. We need to have teenagers come to the forefront. But it must be a difficult battle because you must be just amongst one or two of your friends who's done that. So, is there a peer pressure? Do you feel uncomfortable with the limelight?
There's no peer pressure, but of course, I feel judged by a lot of people. I do feel uncomfortable a lot of times because there are not a lot of people in our grade or in our school in general who are doing these kind of things, especially creating a movie about spirituality. There are not a lot of students in our school who are into spirituality and everything. So I do get really uncomfortable, and but then I overcome that because I feel like the message of the movie is way greater than any discomfort or judgment, and yeah.
So, Julian, you made this film called In Search of Julian, right? This is your spiritual journey of discovering yourself, of overcoming peer pressure, people pleasing, and what made you start off the project? What was it that made the project happen? The seed, what was the seed of the film?
Basically, I started boarding school at a very young age, and the boarding school allows us to go through a lot of experiences. For me personally, I was in a kind of friend circle where I had to force myself to become a people pleaser. There were a lot of instances where it was very difficult for me to, be my true self, and I would put on a mask and pretend to be someone else. And so in lockdown, I got time to sit with my thoughts and really realize who I'd become and who I actually am. And I started journaling, and eventually I collected a lot of notes. And one day my mother just happened to go through my journal, and then she saw what I'd written and thought that we should really create something about it, because the message that I'd kept writing day by day was something that was supposed to be heard by a larger audience.
So, the question that arises when you mention your mother is every entrepreneur, every filmmaker, every businessman, every activist, everyone has a mentor to help them through, to be a team with them. So, who has been your team member, mentor, coach, advisor in your journey towards your first project?
I think definitely it has to be my mother. She's been with me since day one. She was the art director of our film, and so she did most of the art direction. She supported me throughout the thing, and yeah, she was my biggest supporter, my best friend. It was really good.
uh, how, I mean, there are so many parents and children, they never feel very comfortable working with each other. What prepared the ground for that kind of relation where you could work with your mother?
I think ever since I was a young kid, I've had a very close connection with my parents, specifically my mother. Like, we've always been comfortable enough to talk about things, maybe because of the kind of environment she created for me. Like, there was never such a thing that, I couldn't share with her. So I think, of course, it's because of the environment she created, and which allowed me to share things with her. So there wasn't really a challenge or a discomfort. I think we were always very comfortable to work with each other, and it was a good process.
So, your film deals a lot with spirituality. Where does that spiritual streak come from? Have you read books on spirituality? Have you practiced any spiritual methods?
Yeah, I have practiced a lot of spiritual methods like meditation. I'm a lot into crystal work, and books, yes, I have read The Secret. And as for movies, before making In Search of Julian, I'd seen a lot of movies that indulged me in the concept of spirituality, like The Shift, Finding Joe, the movie version of The Secret, and they all helped me build my knowledge about the concept of spirituality, and which actually helped me better make my script and everything.
So this is a very interesting story that is in front of us. Julian and her mom, they are not from the film industry. They are not into filmmaking, but they have followed some of the strong fundamentals that we see filmmakers adopt. That is, write about things that they know, shoot in locations that they are familiar with, and put in an autobiographical element in it. So I think all of these check boxes are ticked, and that makes the project a success with many awards and screenings. So Julian, what is next for you?
Next, I am thinking of bringing out a part 2 of In Search of Julian, because of course I'm 17 right now and there is a lot of journey ahead of me. And after, like, I've shown the last scene as something where I surrender myself to my highest version, but then after that, there's a lot of things that go on after you surrender, like how it affected you and a lot of other things. And also I am thinking of writing a book on a similar subject, but also making it like more broad about the concept and adding more details. And yeah.
So one of the key aspects that the film discusses is the the aspect of a child or a teenager or an adult having to be a people pleaser, and it is a very unsolvable problem in a way, because on one hand children have to study and fit into the world. At the same time, unless they unleash what's inside of them, it doesn't work either. It makes them feel oppressed, suppressed, depressed. So what are one or two points you feel can help a child, someone who's probably listening to you, a teenager? What would you tell him or her, a teenager who may be going through a process of being under extreme people pleasing kind of a mode?
I think what I would like to tell those teenagers is sometimes we forget the difference between, just simply being nice and being a people pleaser, because there's a very thin line between the two things. And sometimes you just want to be nice to someone, but then you end up pleasing them and you end up hurting your own feelings to, like, of course, be nice to them again. And so I think I would like to tell them that you need to set boundaries for yourself. You need to realize that there are certain limits that people can't cross, and you can't let them cross that, because of course if they cross it, you'll be hurting yourself. It's like in people pleasing, when you're saying yes to something you don't want to do, you're actually saying no to yourself. And in a long term, it's going to lead to insecurities, because of course you're telling your body that no, I can't stand up for myself, that I can't say no for things that I don't want to do. So I think this is very important to understand that you need to set boundaries, and if you think that someone's crossing them, you need to be courageous enough to step back and say that no, I would not do that, and it's okay if you don't like me, but I would not let my feelings get hurt.
So, Julian, it has been great talking to you. Just one or two rapid fire questions, should we call them? What are your favorite books?
The Secret and the Brida.
What are your favorite movies?
Dear Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, and Dil Dhadakne Do.
What are your favorite songs?
I like all Taylor Swift songs, each one of them, specifically Lover. Yeah.
And what makes it possible for you to work as well as be a student? Do you think that there is anything in your routine that makes it possible? Like, do you wake up early? Do you make it a point to not use a phone?
Yeah, because I'm in a boarding school, we only get our phones for half an hour at night. But then to balance my school life and as well as keeping in touch with myself, I wake up at 5:30 in school. And I make sure to keep that time for just myself. I maybe light a candle and I'll journal or I'll read a book or something. But then it's very important for me to get that particular time where there's nobody talking to me and everyone's sleeping. So it's quiet and I just give that time to myself.
So on one last note, I'll just mention that I came to know that the journey of the film started with your not using a phone for a day. So I think that's a very interesting story because we are, as a world, we are moving more and more towards being phone addicts and web maniacs. So is that true?
Yes, it is. One day in our Diwali break, actually, my mother decided to take my phone because I was too into social media, and so this one day when, of course, I didn't have my phone, I was very quiet and silent, and I was watching this movie, The Shift by Wayne Dyer, and I just finished watching it, and there was this. It was a very beautiful day. It was breezing outside, and it was a very pleasant weather, and I was just sitting beside the window on my desk, and my laptop was there, and I started typing. And when I finished typing and I made my mom read it, it actually became the opening of our docudrama. And so I think, yeah, it's very important for teenagers to get away from their phone, because I think you realize your true potential when you're away from what's pulling you back.
So thanks a lot, Julian. I think it's a very interesting journey. We are talking to her right after she has shown her film in Mumbai amongst film directors, actors, producers, and she's from Ludhiana. So a complete outsider in the film industry, both in terms of not having studied films, not being from a movie family, and yet being able to show it with a lot of respect amongst the film fraternity. So thanks a lot, Julian. Glad to be here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.